This morning on a call, kind of keep it, I think it's going to be short and sweet, but I wanted to springboard off what Jeremiah talked about last week, kind of going through the game plan for production. But I'm going to kind of, swing it over onto the agency side of things and building your business. And, I'm calling this kind of a 2020 reset, refocus your business. Guys, 2020 has obviously been a year for the record books, not in a lot of ways that we would like to have recorded. However, as with anything, and it's what I love about this business and symmetry and the focus on personal growth mindset, you can make of it what you want. You can interpret the events of this year and the things, the challenges that we've all faced. Basically, we've taken a sales system and it still works, but we've had to change how we do it. We've had to change that platform that we run it on, and a lot of you made that change successfully and are doing just as well, if not better. But hey, we see it in the numbers. It took some time to figure that out, and that's okay. But we want to refocus your business. Here's some exciting news for those of you who weren't who haven't been listening or maybe haven't been tuned in. You all get a 10% bump starting tomorrow. That was announced on the call, and we obviously it was part of the big rollout here about a month ago. However, it becomes official tomorrow. Give it some time. If you don't see it on the next few days on your on your commission statements, they said give them a little bit of leeway there. Carriers are making the switch, but you got to realize they've got several thousand agents that they've got to switch over to a new contract. So if for some reason you don't see that here at the early part of next week, give it a few days before you jump on the carrier and figure out why your commission hasn't changed. Probably by the end of next week, I would say we should be seeing that, and they're telling us they'll make sure they get us credited properly for everything that's written from tomorrow on. So August 1, 10% bump. If you're brand new, you haven't written a single policy, guess what? You just got a promotion. 10% bump for everybody. Guys, that's huge. We're going to talk about that a little more here in a second. But, as with anything, the channel we always want to tune into is WIFM, What's in it for me. And so I kind of wanted to go over that a little bit, but I wanted, one of the things is I'm looking at the agency and where we're at mid-year, and again, Corona set us back a little bit, and that's okay. I mean, that's, again, what I'm really excited about is the way that you all have made the adjustment, and, we've worked through it, we've trained, we've retrained, we've learned new processes. We're still learning. Obviously, there's some things about this new sales process that we have to continue to adjust to. But, I just see the team getting better and better, and that's awesome. But, one of the things that we need to kind of refocus and reset on is, a lot of people, and I know this from all the hiring conversations we've had and the new agent trainings and those conversations that I've set on helping new people get started. This is a great place to come in, write a lot of business, generate personal revenue for yourself and for your families, and take care of your bills and needs. But let's face it, this system is really built for those who are entrepreneurial in nature, who want to build a business. And one of the things that, going through this little environment that we've had with the COVID nonsense is it's been something that I think has knocked our focus off a little bit, and that's okay. Part of it, but it's time to refocus and dial back into to what you want to accomplish in this business. Now, if you're here to write business, you want to be a producer, I've got great news for you. These new promotion guidelines that they put out, and we're going to go over it here in a minute, you can go to the top of this company just on personal activity, personal production. And that's huge. Because before, and for those of you who are brand new who didn't know this, about midway up the commission scale, you had to build a team if you wanted to go further. So the old commission started out at 60%. Once you got to 80, if you wanted to advance past that, if you want to go to 85, 90, on past 95, 100, all that had to have team involved. Okay. the new commission chart is set up to where it doesn't matter which path you choose. If you're a personal producer and you want to maintain just personal production, you don't want to deal with team building, agency building, that's great. We've adjusted the system to make sure that you can go to the very top of the company doing that. But again, this is really optimally designed for people who want to build a business. So we're going to talk a little bit about both sides of that. And that's kind of for those of you who came in and said, I want to eventually build an agency. It's time to refocus, recharge, re-energize, and look at what it's going to take under these new guidelines. And guys, here's the great news: under these new guidelines, this has got, I won't say easier, but the path to me has become even simpler than it was before. And so that's exciting. It got better for us, but you've got to get better, and you've got to refocus. And it doesn't matter that some of the barriers that we've had to overcome, or some of the what I'm trying to say is some of the processes that we go through to grow. You still have to go through that process. Okay, you got to get better. So it's time to double down. It's time to go back to what works. And there's one of the first things I want to encourage each and every one of you, and this is something we don't do on a team basis. We don't do a good enough job of this. And this is reaching out to our warm market for recruiting. Guys, this is a time when so many people are looking for solutions. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed in recruiting, a lot of people, and I'm on LinkedIn, a lot of you are, and I don't know if you've ever looked at some of the profiles on LinkedIn, so people can kind of put their job title, or I'm vice president, or I'm sales executive, or I'm this, or I'm that. You'll be surprised if you were to go look right now how many people have looking for new opportunities as their tagline, guys. You want to talk about a desperate cry for help me, put that in your tagline. Hey, I am Chris and I'm looking for a new opportunity. I'm not senior vice president. I'm not this, I'm not that. I am looking for help to find my future. Guys, people are needing this. And if you're not sharing it, number one, with the people that you know and the people that are around you, here's the thing I want you to think about. There's some people that you may have talked to about this in the past. And they said, yeah, you know what? Not interested. That's not really my wheelhouse. Guys, now's the time to go back to those people. Because we can all be very picky and very choosy when we're riding high. That when you get everything stripped away, which a lot of people have had that happen through this process, that you kind of break down those barriers of pride, that I won't do this, or I won't do sales, or I won't go commission only, or I won't do whatever their mental block was. That there's nothing like having your job, your future, your solid future, if you will, stripped away from you, to really start making you reevaluate. That thing that you thought was going to be there forever is no longer there. You realize that you can only depend on you for your future. And this is a business. This is what I love about this. And we've seen it in this business. And man, how many of you have made that adjustment when a lot of people could have curled up in a ball and said, well, this is terrible. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to us. And I'm just going to, go to bed and try to sleep through all this and wake up 6 months later and hope it's all gone. No, I mean, this team has made the adjustment. We've jumped on. We've started running our appointments online. We've become very successful at that. And so we've provided a pathway for somebody that, again, their thing that they thought was going to be there forever has been stripped away from them. We can now give them a path out in a way to the way to be successful moving forward. So go back, number one, to your warm market. Those people that you talked to that maybe a year ago or 2 years ago said, nope, not interested. Where are they now? You know, how would you feel about if you ran into somebody that maybe you haven't talked to for 6 months or a year, and you talk to them, you know, in the next few weeks or even sometime later this year, maybe next year, and you find out that they lost everything because what they had fell apart, and you didn't reach back out to them and give them a way to move forward. You know, I mean, this is just like the sales side of things, guys. You got to go for no, and a no yesterday doesn't mean a no today on the agency building side. Okay, so help people out. You know, all we can do is put the information from Jeremiah. If you wouldn't mind, I know you that link we've sent several times to Miranda's web page. If you can either post that in the chat or put it on the crew. But guys, there's a real simple reach out, and it doesn't have to be aggressive. You don't even have to reach out and necessarily call people if that's kind of a little bit out of your comfort zone. I encourage you to do that. I mean, if it is out of your comfort zone, it's probably a good indicator you need to do it. But there's a process, just a simple text or Facebook message that you can send and do so in mass to a lot of people and find out who's looking right now. And guarantee there's some people that you've talked in the past and said no that will say yes right now. So follow that simple process. Get lines in the water and get, you know, give those people an opportunity to raise their hand. Okay? And you know, I can see Jeremiah has posted in there now. So, you know, take note of that. We'll also try to get that link up in the crew. So let's talk about what does it look like from a building standpoint. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just a second here, guys. I'm going to share this the new promotion guidelines, because I think it's important, number one, for us to go through. But then I want to talk about how this has, in some ways, become easier. And I don't want to use the word easy lightly, because I know for some people, when they hear easy, they think, oh, this is going to be a breeze. And the first time they hit resistance or a roadblock, they fold up and decide it's too hard, they want to do it. Maybe simpler would be a better word, but the bar has been lowered. You know, from what we came in on the system, what I've always operated under, the bar has been lowered in a good way. Go back here. I'm going to share screen. Okay. And you all should see the promotion guidelines up on my screen there. So, as a brand new agent coming in, again, used to be 60, now 70. The other thing I will point out here, just kind of a side note, our lead cost did go up. So nobody panic next week and send me messages, hey, why are we charging extra money? Pay attention. Lead cost did go up. They are paying you more money, so they're going to charge a little bit more for leads. But keep in mind, our lead costs in industry standards is well below what most companies charge. These types of leads, the mortgage protection, typically go anywhere from $50 to $100 a lead with a lot of other companies, and they're not as good as what we got. So anyway, just a little side note there, because I know I'll get some messages or calls next week from agents wondering why their lead bill was higher for the same amount of leads. But again, you're making more money, so don't cry too hard. But here's the promotion guidelines. Everybody starts at 70. And again, notice now these are issue pay numbers. It's another, there's something else that we want to highlight. Our old promotion guidelines had both the submit, you know, in other words, the business that you turn in, and the issue pay, or what it called net placed business, which is how much of that business got approved. This is just focusing on the net placed, which is fine, which is still the same, you know, it's the same process. So don't get too hung up in that. Basically, you know, if you're going to issue pay $2,500, you're probably going to wind up writing a little bit more than that, because you know, we may have some business that gets turned down, you know, doesn't get approved. You may have somebody that withdraws the case, or keep in mind, and if you write business, like for example, people who write business today, unless they have an instant approval case, it's probably you're going to get your submit in today, but your issue pay is going to happen next month. because any business we write in this month that carries over into underwriting in the following month, so you kind of splits it up. You have submit in one month and you issue paid in the other. That's not a problem moving forward. I mean, if you're writing enough business, you're always going to see that, but there's always going to be what we call rollover. You have some business rolling over to the following month, and you're going to have some, and that's going to help that following month. But anyway, it offsets, long story short. Okay. So let's look at these promotion guidelines. Here's the thing about this, guys. Again, for those of you who are on the production side and really that's your only interest, great news. You can run to the top of this company. Because before, somewhere about the middle of the road, which this is right where you start seeing the riders come in on the building side, that's as far as you could go in the old system without a team. Now, you can take it all the way up to 120, guys, just on your personal pin, and that's huge. Okay. Again, we're going to focus on the building side of this because, you know, taking a brand new agent, how quickly can I get to agency owner? Well, these are 2 consecutive months. You see that here to the side. So each one of these. So if you're starting, you know, in August as a brand new agent at 70%, you do 2 months, $2,500 issue paid, which is a low bar. I mean, that's basically 2.5, 3 apps for the entire month. And doing that 2 months in a row, you go to 75%. So we have 2-month qualifiers for each level. So 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. And this is right up here is where we get to the agency owner level. Guys, if you do the math on this, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 months, within 10 months, you could be at a 95%. Now, I believe, and I haven't actually seen an updated promotion guideline for agency owner, but if I remember correctly, this hasn't changed. Agency owner still hasn't changed in that your 2-month qualifier for your 95%, you do have to have that. Your agency owner qualification is still at 3 months. So you have to have a 3rd month of this same level of production, okay? But you could start in August 1, and be agency owner in 11 months. And guys, that is a lower bar than what the old agency owner. The old agency owner was 7 riders, and you had to do 50,000 of submit, which was about 32.5 on issue pay. So we've dropped about $2,500 on our issue pay. So 1 less rider, and you're going to count yourself as a rider. So this is total riders. So yourself plus 5 other riders, you could be agency owner in 11 months. Now, some of you have been here for a few weeks, a few months already, and you've already achieved 1 or 2 levels up. So look where you're at. So whatever your commission level is right now on the old system. So if you're at an 80, you're going to 90. If you're at a 70, you're going to 80. You know, 75 goes to 85. Add 10% wherever you're at. Now look at this chart. So if you were at an 80 and you've gone to 90, guess what? You're only 1 move away from agency owner. All you need is 6 riders, and again, count yourself, so 5 people beside yourself, and $30,000 issue paid business. Do that 3 months in a row, and you actually own your business with Symmetry Financial Group. You've basically created your own franchise. So I wanted to share this with you because, again, you know, kind of keeping our focus, but, you know, for a lot of you who are coming in, you know, on, you know, from day one with an interest in building a business, I wanted to paint the picture of how attainable this is and how we're going to get there as far as high level. Now, we're going to talk about some specifics here in a second. But the thing about this, every level, if we go on up to the 120, which is the old 110, guys, this bar has been lowered. I mean, every bar along the way, this is a guy who blows my mind. This company actually lowered the bar all the way up the top. And once you get to this top level, you know, you hit that 120, and that's 45 riders. Now and here's important, you know, for those of you who are brand new, you're like, holy cow, I've got to recruit 45 people. No, you don't. You're going to recruit probably, you know, you're looking, you know, the mantra has always been, you know, what they call 3 to be free. You want to find 3 motivated people who have the same vision that you have and want to move that same direction and build their own agencies. Um, but in reality, 3 to 6 people recruited because you're going to help them establish their own sales teams. This is total right within your organization. Okay. So this is not 45 people that you've recruited personally. This is, kind of your efforts duplicating themselves by finding the right people who want to build. And when you reach this top level, again, this is where we start qualifying for those additional bonuses. There's bonuses all along the way if you run up to the top here, both on the production and on the agency side. But you hit this top level, that's where we start talking about equity bonus. Guys, if you're at this level and really several levels down, you're going to be qualifying for these for the equity appreciation rights. I mean, there's just so much money that this company has put on the table for you to earn. So let's talk about how we get there. Again, personal production, this is pretty cut and dried, guys. Personal production, you can run to the top of this company, and here are the numbers. These are all issue paid numbers. And if you say, I want to get up there. Now, when you get to the 110, and I think the company's going to talk a little bit more about this, but they've already talked about it somewhat. You're going to have to make a decision if the last 2 moves, if you're going to do that as a personal production or as an agency. So they're kind of wanting you to make a commitment. If you want to go all the way to the top on personal production, that's fine. But that's a different track once you get here. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're going to be at the top level of the company and going to be rewarded for so. But for those of you who reach that level, and if you're wanting to talk through that process, we can sit down and kind of look at the game plan moving forward once you get to that 110 and what it takes to go up to 120 and which path makes the most sense to you. Okay, so let me share a couple things with you guys. Okay, what's it take to get to these levels, even just getting 6 riders? Okay, let's stop my screen share here. I'll go back on and start talking with you guys because the building side of this business, and this is why it's important right now to recommit, refocus, make the rest of 2020 as productive as you possibly can. And guys, I cannot tell you, we have not had a better time to be recruiting for the last 5 years. When I first came in, it was a pretty good recruiting environment, and we've seen it's always been good, don't get me wrong, but it's become tighter and tighter. I mean, really up until last year, our numbers on our recruiting, as far as our ads, everything went down because the economy was so strong, our unemployment rates were so low, there just was fewer and fewer people that we were all chasing. Now that has flipped. Unfortunately, I hate it. It's too bad that so many people are out on the street, so to speak, on job-wise. But it is what it is, and that means there's a lot of people, again, who are looking for solutions, looking for answers. There is never a better time to build a business than right now. There are so many high-quality people out looking for solutions that you've got to be taking advantage of this right now, guys. So again, warm market, but you can also do that through cold market. We'll talk about that here in a second. But let's talk about what it's going to take to build a business, because there's certain metrics in this business. The owners were talking here about a month ago, and Casey was going through the numbers. He said you want to be writing $20,000 of business a month, and you want to be sending out 20 onboardings. So we're sending out 20 recruiting what we call packets for people to fill out and become get on board with Symmetry. Now, the reason why that number 20 is important is because if you look at building an agency, if you're sending out about 5 to 10 onboardings a month, you don't have an agency. You're not growing. You're not sending out enough to get that momentum going. If you send out 10 to 15, they say you have slight growth. You'll start to see a little bit of movement, but it's going to be very slow. It's going to take a while to get the wheels turning. If you're sending out 15 to 20, that's starting to get a momentum. So so Stephanie, I saw your note there. What's a recruiting packet? Basically, that's just the onboarding. So that's the link that we send out for somebody to fill out to join the agency. Okay, so when you came on board, all of us filled that out. That's what we're talking about. When we send out a packet or we send out an onboarding, that's basically, saying to that person, hey, we're moving forward and we want you to fill this out so we can get to the next step, either licensing or contracting. Okay.
Yeah, some of us old heads, Chris, we actually had a 30-page PDF packet that we had to print out, fill out, scan, and send back in. So yeah, now we just still use the calling it packet rather than the link.
Yeah, that's kind of the phenomenon that we walked uphill in the snow both ways. That's old timer talk. We use packets, So we used to do this by a horse. I'd have to send out. Jeremiah got his on Pony Express, and then he sent it back and on a homing pigeon or something. I forget how that worked. But anyway, but yeah. So 5 to 10. If you're sending out 5 to 10, you're not really going to see any growth. 10 to 15, slight. You'll start to see the wheels turning, but it'll take you a long time to get there. 15 to 20, that's where you start seeing momentum build, and you're going to start seeing growth. That's good, but 20 plus, and the reason why 20 is such a magic number, 20 is explosive growth. That's when we see agencies start taking huge leaps, like the numbers start jumping exponentially. Okay, so now here for a lot of people, it's like, holy cow, 20. How do I send out 20 a month? Two things. Number one, in the beginning, you're going to have to work super hard. I mean, every spare minute is going to need to be filled with being on the phone with conversations. So what we call a 90-day madman, where you just take 90 days, and if you pour 90 days into this business, filling every minute with as much activity as you possibly can. And that means on personal production, you can be very disciplined in your time. I like to use what we call time blocks, where I take a calendar, you block out, okay, this is going to be my call time. I'm calling for 2 or 3 hours a day, and I'm calling and doing absolutely nothing else. Then I'm going to have my appointment time. It's going to be blocked out. But if you're wanting to build an agency, you've got to put another block in there, and it's got to be recruiting activities. For some people, that's a little bit every day. For some people, that's just blocking out a day. You may choose to do Thursdays as your recruiting day, but you have to be very consistent with that. Now, here's the good news about that 20 number. Number one, you can get to it yourself. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's tough. I've done it before. I've sent out as many as 40 plus myself. When Scott Mank and I were in the early days doing our Madmen, and trust me, guys, your voice goes hoarse. You're on the phone nonstop. I mean, it's grueling. But the beautiful thing about this business, this is why I love the team environment, is as you start getting that momentum going, as you start getting people to join in with you, what we call your running buddies, you find those people who catch that vision and see what Symmetry has to offer and the financial potential. As you get people on board who see that and they start recruiting. And guys, this is huge. When you bring somebody on, the first thing they should be doing is having conversations with everybody that they know who are high quality people that they want to be in business with. Okay. So as we start bringing people in, here's the good news for everybody involved, especially you as the top of the team and the team builder. That means, everybody that comes in, recruit over recruit, adds to that bottom line number. Okay. So now you're not solely responsible for hitting that 20 every month. Now, I'm going to encourage you to keep up the activity, bring in as many people in the pipeline as you can, because you never want to, shift the burden to your downline. They need to be recruiting 20 for me. Now, you want to keep your recruiting efforts up, but my point is that's where that explosive growth starts happening, that exponential growth, because now you're recruiting, and now you've got 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people who are also recruiting. And guys, it becomes a synergistic machine where it starts taking off and taking on life of its own. And so that's why I wanted to bring our focus back to this today, because we've got, I would say, probably 4 or 5 people right now on the team, maybe a half dozen, who are really dialed in on recruiting. Guys, we've got a team of probably about, and I've got to look at odds here, we probably got about 45 to 50 licensed agents on contract right now. And I know, again, several of us have had conversations. You want to build a business here. Yeah, you want to write a lot of business, make a lot of money for your family in the short term, but long term, you see that vision of building a business. That's only going to happen if we get rededicated to what it takes to build a business. And what's it going to take? It's going to take massive action. In fact, I wrote down here, one of the first books that I read when I came into this business, and it was a good book for me because I'm pretty relaxed, laid back guy, but I read Grant Cardone, the 10X Rule. Guys, that's a good book. That's a good book, and it's not a very complicated book. In fact, I think one of the criticisms is I was reading some reviews of it. It's like, well, this is too simplistic. It's the same thing every chapter. Well, yeah, it is. Kind of is, because his point is you got to work hard. And he talks about kind of the mindset and the mind reset that needs to happen to achieve what you want to achieve. So I highly recommend that. Grant Cardone, the 10X Rule. But you've got to, kind of like we talked about on the call, Jeremiah and Stella, did a great job on the Wednesday call talking about the slide edge. In the slide edge, it talks about getting a big flywheel going, a big machine that's got a big wheel that turns the crank and the internals. But to get that going, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot to get that moving, and it doesn't happen quickly. It starts out very slow, and you've got to keep pushing, and finally, as the momentum gets up, it kind of takes on a life of its own, and it starts rolling. Guys, I love that analogy because that's what agency building is in this. And too many times I've seen people that come in and say, I want to build an agency, and they start pushing that flywheel. And one of two things happen. Either, number one, they right out of the gate say, well, this is too hard. I don't want to push anymore. Or number two, they push it and they get maybe, 3 or 4 or half dozen or more people on board. And then they have some people kind of, that don't get the vision and fall off. And they say, this is too hard. I'm going to stop pushing. I'm going to kind of sit here and try to figure out a better way to do this. I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to try to do the system better. I'm going to do it my way or whatever. It doesn't matter. That doesn't work, guys. I mean, look at it this way. If you build a large agency, and let's take like a Marshall Whalen out of the picture. Let's just talk about like a Jacob Pogue or Scott Mank, where they've got, a 300,000 to about 750,000 a month agency. Okay, so that's a very good sized agency. That's a big agency. And Marshall, the reason I take him out there because he's up in our stratosphere. I think for a lot of people that almost breaks your belief system because it seems too high. And let me address that just for a second. But Marshall started just where each and every one of you are on this call right now. I mean, he did. He started at the same place. We all started at the same place. Well, let's back it up. Let's take a look at what Scott Mank or what Jacob Pogue are doing right now with a 350 to 400,000. I think Jacob's about 600,000 to 700,000 a month right now. But the point I wanted to bring up there is if you want a business that's generating about $700,000 of revenue a month, or let's say, just break it down further, let's say, say average 10% override. I don't know exactly what the override is, but let's say 10% just to keep the math simple. When you're doing $700,000 a month, 10% of 700,000 is $70,000 a month. $70,000 a month over a 12-month period of time, you're talking about $850,000 to $900,000 of earnings for somebody like a Jacob Pogue. Here's the thing, though, and again, this is what's missed. This is, you want a $750,000 business, but you're not willing to invest time or resources in that business to get it started. How does that make sense? It's like when we had John Maxwell at our conference here a couple years ago. He's talking about, anything worthwhile is going to take a heavy investment. So if you were to go out and buy a traditional franchise, that's going to generate $750,000 a month in gross revenue. How many of you think you can go out and buy that for, $500 a month? It's not realistic. It's not realistic, guys. Or less, $300 a month. So, we say, well, hey, I suggested you invest in some ZipRecruiter ads. Maybe pick up about 20 of those a month. And if you don't like ZipRecruiter, that's fine. Guess what? There's Career Builder, there's Glassdoor, there's LinkedIn. There's so many different platforms outside. And again, I focus on warm market first, because if you want to go cheap, that's the way to do it. But at some point, you're going to have to invest in your business. But if you're not willing to invest in your business, at least at picking up 20 ads of ZipRecruiter, or buying resumes on Career Builder, or putting ads out on Glassdoor, how can you expect to buy a $750,000 a month business by not investing? Doesn't make sense, guys. So if you want to go cheap, then talk to your friends and family, and if they say no, say, okay, who do you know that just lost their job, just got laid off, doesn't know if they're going to survive COVID, is looking to make an extra $1,000 a month part-time? That's the other thing that we miss, guys. A lot of times we ask somebody, hey, would you be interested in this business? They say no. We say, okay, thanks, see you. Why are we doing that? Why aren't we saying, oh, okay, well, hey, that's great. I'm glad you're in a good place. Can you tell me of somebody that you know who's not in a good place? We don't ask for referrals, and that's on all of us. I mean, that's, from the top down, we got to do a better job of that. But when you run into that, again, warm market doesn't necessarily mean everybody that you know personally by first name and can call them up and carry on a conversation. Warm market can also mean friend of a friend of a friend. So if you want to go cheap, start warm market. But at some point, if if that doesn't take off as quickly as you want, if you want to build faster, then you're going to have to invest in your business. And you're going to have to find those people who are running buddies and who want to become part of this process with you. So guys, like I said, the thing about all this that's going on, with shutdowns and just kind of everything. We have a business where we can control our destiny. We have a business where we can control our outcome. We have a business, if you don't like what you're making, you can go out and do a little bit more work and make more money today. But you can also go out and do a little bit more work and make your tomorrow money even better. But it's like I was talking about on the call Wednesday, it's like planting that seed. You got to plant it, you got to water it, and then you got to keep coming back to it. If you sit there and stare at it, you're going to be frustrated. So a lot of times we want to plant one seed and then we get frustrated because we haven't built this massive farm. You got to keep planting. You got to keep planning, guys. Jeremiah, John Paul, do you guys have anything you want to add on this, especially from the agency development building side of things?
I would just add that, you're talking about the flywheel. That's what this business is, guys, because I've experienced it all in my time. And, a lot of the mistakes I've made is because I didn't consult with my upline first. So I would tell you to do that, and whatever. I've heard it say before, never do anything first without, never do anything you've never done before first without talking with your upline. Because I promise you, they've already probably done it, and either, yeah, it's a good idea, or no, I probably recommend you do something different. But it's all about the activity. It's all about the momentum. So just, start now. If you want to build an agency, there's no better time than now to do it. So, but once you get that activity going, get that momentum, get on it and stay on it, because I promise you, it's much harder to get it back than it is to keep it going. And I can attest to that. So, great call, Chris. Appreciate it. And let's make it happen.
Yeah, and to your point, Jeremiah, if you're, we're throwing a lot at you here today. Obviously, we can tailor these plans to each one of you individually. So don't hesitate. Reach out to your mentor, your coach, or any one of us agency owners, on a specific plan for you to get where you want to go. I mean, like I said, there's different ways to get there. It's all going to take work and activity, but we'll tailor the work and the activity to fit into either your schedule or your personality, whatever we got to do to make it happen for you. We'll do that. I know John Paul this looks like mobile, but John Paul, give a kind of last minute if you want to say anything in addition, or are you good?
No, Chris, that's good. Again, I apologize. It was a little noisy here. Going 100 miles an hour all the time. The only time I get a chance to do a few errands, like getting oil changes or my truck wash or something, is when I'm not hosting a call, so I can listen in and get a few of those things done, because I'm wide open throttle the rest of the time. So just a little difficult to hear because of the background noise. But no, I mean, that's the key, is understanding the promotion guidelines as they're set forth, and understanding where you're at in your business and how to progress through those to get where you want to go, right? Is key to your success. And it's a clear roadmap and blueprint. So if you have any questions on that, make sure you, of course, get with your upline. The recruiting and team building, we talked about that before, that it's extremely important to be able to share with other folks in your warm market, just people that you know, even if you're not ready to put out ZipRecruiter ads and things like that just yet, maybe, which is fine, but talk to people that you know. As you stated earlier, Chris, there are so many people right now that are out there who have tremendous skill sets, but don't know what the hell they're going to do. I mean, they're at a loss, and they've been very successful at whatever they might have done, and found themselves in a bad situation, or unemployed, or facing layoffs and such like that. And to your point, even if you talked to them before and they may have been in a good place a year or two ago, or last time you connected with them, might not be the case now. So don't be afraid to share that with them. And to your point, I can't remember, it was you or Jeremiah that said it a moment ago, because I had the camera off and I was listening to my ear. But to your point, is when you're reaching out to these folks, if it's not a good fit for them, ask who they may know. And the best way to tee that up is not necessarily ask somebody directly, as if you're trying to recruit them specifically. Just reach out to them and let them know what you're doing, and say, hey, by the way, we're looking in all markets, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are looking for opportunities, and I know you've done very well in professionally, and I trust your opinion. Do you happen to know anybody else you think might be a good fit, or maybe looking for an opportunity? So you're asking to solicit their assistance to help you. You'd be surprised at how many of them may actually say, hey, well, wait a minute, yeah, I might be interested in that, right? So don't overestimate or underestimate the ability to just expose this opportunity to 1 or 2, 3 people, and what that can mean to your business. So no, it's great stuff, Chris. And if you don't understand all the details, again, there's a lot of new people on the call, get with your upline, your AO or your direct upline. If your direct upline is relatively new themselves, and both of you all get with your AO so you guys can work through that. A lot of times what I've done with some of the newer folks that they're trying to recruit as well, is if they, especially if they're in the past, it's been an interview call or a Zoom meeting interview with the new candidate, I'll jump on a 3-way with them on the Zoom meeting, and I'll actually do the interview myself, the first 1 or 2, just so they can maybe hear how I do it, or listen to the questions that we're going over, kind of what I'm trying to identify and find within the candidate. So not only can we potentially onboard that new person and answer all their questions to create the excitement within them for the opportunity, but also educate the new person who hasn't really done it that much, to help them learn also. So you kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So that's all I wanted to add to that, Chris. Again, I apologize for the background noise here, but I appreciate everybody. July, end of day today. I finished up the month strong, and starting tomorrow, it's a brand new world. Everybody gets a 10% bump, and it's the start of a new month on a Saturday. So let's get out there and make this thing happen.
Yeah, to your point, John, one of the greatest questions that you can ask is, do you know anyone who wants to make an extra $1,500 to $2,000 a month part-time? That's one of the more people have been recruited with that question. And like you said, that's a great way to identify if the person you're talking to is a candidate. But if they're not, they're going to genuinely think about, who do I know that on a part-time basis could use an extra, $1,500 to $2,000 a month.
Hey, Chris.
It's a very realistic number with this business. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. one thing I'll point out, and I did try to emphasize it in that, you know, when we're talking about the Kyle Kimbrell, that question, are you open to additional income if it will fit into your schedule? Do not try to change that to make it sound like maybe it makes more sense to you or how to word it. This guy built a $6 million agency in his first year, and he emphasizes do not change the wording. It's worded that way for a very specific reason. It will be very difficult for someone to say no to that question. The point of it is just to get symmetry in front of them, get the video out so they can make a decision if it makes sense. Do not change the wording of that question. So you just send it multiple times. Anybody on your team, do the same thing. I mean, this thing can blow up. It's just a matter of doing it, you know? And another thing is, and I went hardcore with that when we first learned it, but my issue is I didn't follow up. That don't work. Follow up 48 hours after that you send the question, they say yes, you send the video, follow up 48 hours after that, ask them do they have a chance to check out the video, they're going to say yes or no or whatever. If they say yes, then go ahead and get them scheduled right then as soon as possible to speak with your mentor or your AO, or if you need to do that, if you're experienced, and go ahead and, you know, schedule the interview for yourself to have a conversation with them. But there's another link you can send more videos. I mean, Kyle Kimbrell talks about he don't really do interviews. He sends everything. He's just sorting. He sends everything that he can possibly send, videos, all kind of YouTubes about, you know, different aspects of the business. Everybody's different on how they do that. But then it's just a matter of, you know, he's talking to the interested people, and he's just basically asking what questions they have. Most of them are going to say they have none, and he's sending out the link to the packet. But just don't change that question. Just send it out to as many people and then follow up in 48 hours. Get you some kind of tracking sheet process or something to remember to do that. And you guys are going to start, you know, having some running buddies, you know, sooner than later. That's for sure. Thanks, Chris.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Jeremiah, for adding that. So, all right, guys, let's wrap up the call. Time to get busy. We've got, again, end of day, midnight Eastern. So if you have any business pending, anything that you're going to, or that you haven't submitted yet, make sure you get that in and get your numbers for the month. And then midnight tonight Eastern, we reset. We'll launch for August. Guys, be very intentional. This is a business where being intentional about your outcomes is critical. You can't just leave it to chance. You got to make it happen. So it's time to refocus, reset, and let's make a run for the end of the year. You know, 2020, we've had, you know, given everything we've gone through, a pretty solid year. But I think we still have an opportunity to make this a blowout year. You know, and it just comes down to making that decision to make it happen. So, guys, appreciate each and every one of you. We'll wrap it up for now. Let's go get it. Catch y'all later.